Welcome to another day, Thursday, Budweiser's weekday sports beat with IrishBreakdown.com. I'm Sean Stiers. Jesse Stiers is with me as well. Bobby Hensley will be here later. We've got another split show as Jesse's got wedding things he's got to take care of in a little bit. Getting that final, is it a tux? Is it a suit? What are you calling this thing that you'll be wearing? Tux. So you bought a tux and you're getting the final fitting done tonight.
That is correct. I've had one fitting. Tonight's to go, try it all on and make sure they don't have to do any last second alterations. I feel good about most of it. I don't feel good about my white button-up shirt underneath. I have such a large neck, and so they basically the neck fits, but everything else is like a dress on me. And so they're tailoring this shirt, and it needs a lot of tailoring, and so I'm very worried about it.
That's that'll be interesting to see how that works. And you are a sweaty person too, so I'm curious to see once you get out there and you start dancing in said shirt and suit, like what that looks like. That could be interesting.
I've got a vest too, so I've got white shirt, vest, and then jacket. So yeah, that's everyone's been giving me a hard time about putting a wedding in football season. That's why I can't be hot. I will literally be dripping sweat if I don't do it.
That's
in October.
Just an awful sweaty mess is what it would be. Yeah, that's the vest is a good call. I didn't think about the vest. I forgot about the vests that go under that. That'll be
keep it everything nice, and
that'll be good. That'll be solid. Yeah,
I
don't have a vest with mine. But I probably don't need one.
Yeah, but yours isn't a tux. Yours is just a nice suit.
True.
You have a suit jacket.
True.
Man, Brent Schmidt is in the chat. I can't remember the last time I've seen that name.
I know. Brent Smith ain't been around in a while. Good to see you.
It's West Coast time.
My man out there in California, one of our old friends in the show chat on YouTube. And don't forget, if you're listening on the radio or podcast or the Sports Radio WSBT app, you can watch the show live if you so desire on either the Irish Breakdown YouTube channel or the Sports Radio WSBT YouTube channel. Are you doing the prom thing? I am Tenzin. I am the son of Angus.
Is that the thing that goes around your waist?
Yeah.
No, I don't have that.
I can't remember if I did the cummerbund for the wedding or not. I do remember I don't know what I was thinking. I got the tails for the wedding, like the tux with the tails.
Yeah.
And, so you kind of look like a waiter. And that's what I think, looking back at some of the photos, shouldn't have gone with the tails. Cause I think I went with tails and the rest of my groomsmen just did regular tux. I would have done regular tux if I had it to do all over again. That's for sure.
I don't have the wings.
No wings.
I don't have the wings.
All right. Will there be a corsage? Will you have a corsage?
Yes. All the groomsmen and myself will have corsages.
Okay.
I have suspenders too.
David Webb says there's no football at the end of February, saying you could have done it in February.
Yeah.
It's also pretty cold in February, and I have this thing called basketball in February. So that would have created other issues. There's just no way around it. There's just no perfect scenario for everybody when it comes to scheduling.
Correct. And that's why we picked what we wanted to do.
At the end of the day, it is one day out of the rest of your life. So if you can't miss, if you would have done it during basketball season, I would have found a way. I would have missed a basketball game if I had to. But, as it is, we miss one football game, and then the for the rest of your life, your anniversary will be on that date. But, you don't have to worry about any other conflicts or any of.
I will say I did kind of set myself up for a lot because so we're getting married October 4th. Naomi's birthday is October 7th. Yours is October 9th.
Yeah.
My soon-to-be mother-in-law, hers is like October 11th or something.
Oh, I didn't realize hers was in that ballpark as well.
And then mom's is September 21st. So like within a month, I have like three to four birthdays, now a wedding anniversary.
Yeah.
Don't talk to me from September 15th to October 15th because I'll have no money ever.
I got a feeling I'm going to be at the bottom of the pecking order when it comes to like any gift giving, anything like that. But
I guess you'll have to see how you're doing that year.
I guess so. Well, don't forget, we've got Notre Dame and Arkansas coming up this Saturday. It'll kick off at noon. You'll hear it right here on Sports Radio WSBT, as well as the Odyssey app and Sunny 101.5 here in the South Bend market. Game day coverage, bright and early, 8 a.m. Breakfast with the boys, 8 a.m. Eastern time this Saturday. You can join Tim Grau, Jimmy Rizzeri, Erik Hansen, Tyler Horka, and other great guests before the Irish take on the Razorbacks for the first time ever this Saturday. Again, it's a noon kickoff and game day coverage at 8. This week's guests include Notre Dame great, former wide receiver Michael Floyd, and also former Notre Dame and NFL offensive lineman Chris Stewart. So,
I thought you were going to say Zach Martin for a second.
That would be a
treat.
Nice. Haven't seen much of Zach Martin. No presence of any kind, social media or
probably just enjoying freaking retirement. You know,
maybe so. I think he'd be good on TV if he decided to do that. Anyway, game day coverage this Saturday, 8 a.m. Join them right here, Sports Radio WSBT. They'll also be on the Sports Radio WSBT YouTube stream this week. So, I know what I wanted to ask you. I will save this for a little bit, though. No, you know what? I'll just go ahead and ask you right now. Speaking of the party, because did you see where Aaron Rodgers, the Steelers, and Vikings are over in Ireland? And
I did see that.
Aaron Rodgers was asked something about, favorite part of being in Dublin, and he said drinking the Guinness, and he's not even much of a beer drinker. You've been to Ireland. I've never been there. Does a draft Guinness straight out of the tap over there in Dublin or wherever you are in Ireland, does it taste different than your Guinness that you get here in the States?
Yes. I knew where that question was going. I let you finish, but I was immediately going to interrupt you and say yes. It's like anytime anyone asks, to me, the best way I explain it, it's like drinking milk straight from the cow.
Oh, man. Joe Allen says yes, yes, yes. Scott says yes.
It's even smoother there. Like everyone thinks Guinness is this dark, heavy, beer, and it's actually relatively light. There, just
ask Pat McAfee.
There, it just goes down like water. Like it is.
Again, ask McAfee.
I forgot when he did that last year.
Oh my goodness! I must have seen him. I had that on when they were over there kicking off the season, and he must have downed 8 of them in less than 2 hours. It was like you said, it was just like he was gulping water. Is all he was doing. It was from what I understand, it got a little messy after they went off the air, as you can imagine. Okay, well, I just wanted to get that out of the way because I've never had the benefit of. Is it cold? Is it room temperature? How do they serve it?
It's like that perfect chill, not too cold, not room temperature. They've mastered the temperature, and I think whoever said it, Scott Yerbick, it's not as thick. I think that's probably the best way to put it. It's just more. There's more fluidity to it. I know there's a better word
because
for
it's
it.
So fresh, and there's probably preservatives over there as well. Right. You hear a lot of that.
It's not sitting in a keg going overseas.
Right, exactly. Okay, so a couple updates on Notre Dame's injury report for this week. Devontae Smith has been upgraded to probable after he missed the last 2 games. So that's good news. Like, you got Devontae Smith, possibly some Dallas Golden still mixed in after he played. So I think, that's like pretty good shape there at nickel. Leonard Moore, though, remains questionable after missing last week's game. So we will see what happens with Leonard Moore. Would be great if they can get him back, considering everything going on in the secondary right now. Kicker-wise, Noah Burnette out last week. We saw Erik Schmidt make his debut. Marcus Freeman in his noon Zoom media call earlier today, kind of updated what's going on with the kickers right now.
Hey, Coach, I haven't seen whether Noah's going to be back for you yet, but I wanted to ask about Erik Schmidt anyways. Not only did he do the place kicking, he did the kickoffs, had 8 touchbacks, made all his extra points and so forth. What's your thoughts about him being used in some role moving forward, whether Burnette is healthy or not?
Well, Erik will be our kickoff specialist. Right now, Noah's probable. We expect him, depending on the next couple of days, to probably be able to do our field goals. But Erik will do the kickoffs, and we'll still continue to have him and Marcello compete to be the backup field goal kicker. And it comes down to just consistency. I think it was big for Erik to just go through that experience of a first game and being in the stadium and in front of the crowd. And, I know the first kickoff was out of bounds, and I kind of say, like, freshmen have to go through some of those growing pains to, there's a human element of the pressure, I'm sure, the external factors that you put on yourself. And we encourage them to try not to allow those things to affect them. But for a lot of people, it's human nature. And so I thought he was, he did a good job in his first opportunity in Notre Dame Stadium. He's continuously working on the consistency in his technique. And, I think he has a really bright future here.
All right, so there you go. Erik Schmidt's going to do the kicking off. He was 8 for 8 on his extra points last week. Missed that only field goal. Confidence in the kicking game right now, hearing that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any what's the word? Non-confidence in the kicking game. I think they're going to trepidation. I don't think that, it sounds like they're going to kind of piece it together. And that's what they ended up doing last year, I believe, when what's his name got hurt towards the end of the season. They kind of, switched up duties. Like, one guy was only doing field goal kicking. You had one guy handling punting and one guy handling kickoff. It sounds like that kind of needs to be, the plan going forward, because they've been running into this. I don't know if it's overexertion, too much, and guys are ending up hurt. But I'm not trying to make a big deal of this, but this is, again, 2 years in a row where and to me, and I hope Vince isn't listening, out of punters, kickoff, and field goal kickers are the most important. Those are the guys who can get you 3 points. And beat, win a game like Penn State last season and advance you to the national championship. At some point, you're going to need your kicker to come through. So I would like my kicker to be as healthy as possible all season, obviously. And I feel like that maybe there's too many responsibilities, kind of give one guy each to kind of preserve them and keep them healthy. So not really worried about it yet. If we're talking on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm getting kind of, lukewarm here a little bit, but I'm not feeling it quite yet.
Yeah, I mean, the kickoff is where you really kind of, have to rear back and get your leg into it. Like, you listen to Brandon Aubrey, and he talks about how when he's doing his field goals, he doesn't change. Like, he doesn't, okay, now I'm kicking from 60 plus yards, so I'm going to rear back. It's all about his form and just stays into it, And so if it's different in college compared to the NFL because of the fact that you do have multiple kickers on the roster. So if you've got a young guy with a big leg like Schmidt, and he's good enough to handle the kickoff duties, or even if it ends up being Marcello Diomede, like you said, those two are going to continue to battle for that. If you can do that, and you can alleviate some of the need to really rear back for Noah Burnette and let him focus on the field goals, which, as you said, I mean, it's 3 points, yes or no. You need that. So you might as well split it up like that and let your field goal kicker rest his leg a little bit, because it is concerning that, as you said, 2 years in a row, you've got these kickers who've got hip problems and stuff going on. And, last year it took the guy's dad, who's a chiropractor, to come and kind of get him back, into whack and get him aligned and all that kind of stuff to get him going. So yeah, you got the bodies. They're on scholarship. You might as well use them as long as everyone can
divvy it up. They're going to be travel roster spots, like you're committing it. So divvy up the work as much as possible. Speaking of kicking, I saw this question in the chat. Have you been a new fan, or have you been a fan of the new NFL kickoff rules? Does it matter to you? Do you like it? Do you not like it?
I see Sean Kelly asking that in the chat, in the YouTube chat. I'm a little
You on the
hit
fence?
and miss. Like, are you allowed to kick it into the end zone if you're an NFL kicker?
So there's like, I believe what there is, because
there's like a
landing zone.
zone.
Yes. The end zone is not considered the landing zone. So if you hit it into the end zone straight touchback, then it goes to like the 35. If a team fair catches it in the landing zone, then the ball only goes to like the 20, I believe, or the 20 or the 25. I don't know the exact, but basically, if you get it in the landing zone and the team fair catches it, you're not penalized. If you don't land it in the landing zone and it's a touchback, then it goes to the 35. But obviously, the whole point of it is to promote returns, but not be, high violence
without the high
concussion.
contact. Yeah, because the fact you've got them, and they did tweak it this year with the landing zone and that.
I like it, to be honest with you.
Seems like, I mean, a lot of really good starting field position, it seems like to me. So I'm not.
I think that's what the league wants. I think they want this offensive. But to me, it's like if you're a Cowboys fan, you get the ball at the 35, you only need to go 15 yards to get an Aubrey range.
Yeah, well, then why didn't they have 6 more field goals last week? All those kickoffs that the Bears did to them, they still only had 14 points last week. I get what you're saying, because I was kind of thinking the same thing. It's like, man, all this great starting field position, and you've got Brandon Aubrey, and you still only managed 14 points. Like, what's going on? Or was it 17? Whatever it was.
It was 14.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But I'm a little mixed on the NFL kickoff. It just seems like the starting field position is a little bit too good for me. That's
You're
kind of
a defensive guy. You're old school.
Yeah. Yeah. Reward the team with the kicker who can boot it, and with the defense is kind of where I am. I don't think we need to change even more rules to benefit scoring. There's enough of that, I think, as it is. Okay, so we're going to come back. We're going to talk a lot about the defense. Marcus Freeman talked a lot about defensive technique and some other stuff today. I wanted to talk about this first, though, related directly to Arkansas. They've got a big defensive front. They've got a 387-pound
that's a big boy.
Ian Giffard, 6'5", 387. Can Notre Dame use that Razorback size against them with the running backs Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price? Marcus Freeman answered that question today.
I mean, I think I don't know if J Love and Price are going to have an effect on the big D tackle. Like, I mean, that dude's a big dude. And so can you affect him with how you're blocking him, right? And, maybe instead of 2 hands, you got to get 4 hands on that guy and, run some type of plays that maybe you're not just running right at him, because it's hard to move a man that's that big. And, but as far as the back, we gotta test all of them. We gotta see, can they play in space? Can they be physical on the inside? And so, we have a great plan. I think we're going to try to utilize our strengths and try to put their defense in some predicaments that we feel like we can have success. But it's never how you just draw it up. You got to go out there and execute and make adjustments, and I'm sure we will.
387. Giffard, 387. They've got another guy, Cam Ball, that's 323 pounds, and another dude off
challenger
who's like 320 something. So, again, they've got a lot of size. Even with the size they've got, they're giving up 157 rushing yards per game. So I don't know. What do you think about this, Jess?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a guy you're obviously going to have to double team. And that's honestly what he's out there to do, clog up the middle, make you commit an extra guy to him. But what I envision happening now is you're going to do a lot of kind of outside zone, outside, like you're pressing kind of the tackle area. And then also what you would do is you would probably use Eli Raridan when he's in kind of like that H-back to be, a lead blocker kind of on those outside zone power looks. But, your aim point is going to be right off the tackle. I think a lot of what you saw against IU last year, like on that Jeremiah Love run where he ran it like 98 yards or whatever, something like that. I mean, I think it's obvious you're not just going to run right into the mouth of a 387-pound man.
No, I mean, it feels like there are other places to run than right at the defensive tackles. I don't think that means they'll never do that, but when you've got guys like Love and Price with the kind of speed that they have, as Freeman said, they've got a pretty good game plan, they think, put together, and we'll see what they can do with it. And I think that Notre Dame's passing game will help things as well. But it kind of goes to what you've talked about a lot is fewer tight ends and more wide receivers, whether it's 10 or 11 or whatever, spread things out to try to lighten the box. And it feels like that can be a pretty good recipe for success because, again, Arkansas has given up 157 a game on the ground. Just Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love combined are averaging that exact same number. So that doesn't even take into account anyone else who touches the ball. And that's their averages. And I think that when the defensive average giving up that much and Notre Dame is averaging that much themselves, that feels like a pretty good recipe for success for Notre Dame going into this matchup.
Yeah, I have no doubt that the game plan early and often is to run the ball. You got an 11 a.m. Game time kick, local kick. You're on the road, SEC. Run the ball, control the game, control the tempo, and throw the ball when you need to.
All right, Jesse's going to go feed the dogs. We'll take a timeout. When we come back, we'll talk more Notre Dame defense, the other side of the ball. Marcus Freeman talked a lot about that in his Zoom call today. So we'll do that when we return, coming up next. We continue Budweiser's weekday sports beat with IrishBreakdown.com along with Jesse Stiers. I'm Sean Stiers, here in some of Marcus Freeman's comments from his noon Zoom media call today. Not a public call like the Monday press conference and all that, a little more closed door, but we get some of the comments. We write about them, we talk about them, and on this show every Thursday we play them and we talk about them. So I believe it was, by my count, 5 total questions came up today regarding the defense. Not surprising. Technically, maybe a 6th because there was one about a specific player. But, so a lot of, and I believe it was 10 total questions asked. So majority revolved around what's going on with the defense. And so one of the things Marcus Freeman talks about all the time is challenge everything. Right? So I asked Freeman if there have been some specific things that he's challenged this week as he's gone through this week with an eye toward improving the defense.
Challenge everything is something I do with every aspect of this football program. And so, defensively, we challenge everything. How do we continue to find a better way? But it's not always just change. It's not challenge everything doesn't mean change. It might say, okay, how do we enhance what we're doing, how we practice, the way we prepare, who's doing what, like everything we do is challenging everything, and ultimately we'll see on Saturday if it produces a better result.
Okay, we'll see if it produces a different result. What did you think of the response?
I don't like it. Just say what you did differently this week.
I thought it was a simple question, right? Just name a couple things.
Just say, hey, here's some drills we did, or hey, we tweaked some personnel, or we worked some different guys in some different rotations. Like we switched some of the 1s and 2s to see, how different guys maybe group together or something like that. So it's just so frustrating because I thought that was a good question and I was expecting a good answer.
Not to pat myself on the back, but I thought it was a decent question. Well, thought it might open up, some
floodgate
things, that he might say. But we enhance,
especially because it's not a public press conference, so you can't be afraid that that's going to get out there somewhere.
Well, it's out there right here. But
but it's. Do you think Arkansas is going through the Notre Dame podcast and being like, oh, what can we find here?
Well, you never know. You never know.
No, but it's a relevant question, and I'm a little not even a little. I am disappointed that he once again found his way to kind of skirt around it, and it's okay, all he basically said was what challenge everything means, and it's not just challenge. It can mean enhance, or all these different things, but it's just come on, I don't know. Maybe that shows some timidness, maybe they still don't have the answers. I don't know. It causes you to kind of, I think, panic more and think of worst case scenario because he's not being direct.
Right. Because the one thing he said it doesn't mean, it doesn't mean change, so, and you can take that a lot of different ways. It doesn't mean we're changing the defense that we're running. It doesn't mean we're changing who's calling the defense. It doesn't mean we're changing the guys who are on the field when everyone's 100% healthy. So it's more about, is it the definition of insanity? Are we just doing the same things over and over again and expecting a different result? Is that what it's all about? It's like this is what we want to do. We've just got to do it better. Is that the answer to everything at this point? So
I don't know if I'm frustrating myself.
So now we get into technique, because earlier this week at his public press conference, he was hammering technique when he talked about his defense. So is the poor technique because of so many young players on the field, or because of tweaks being made to the defense that has changed their technique? Here is the answer to that.
I think when I used the term technique issue was when I was referring to man coverage, and anybody can can understand I play this guy man to man, but the difference between making a play and not making a play usually comes down to some type of technique. And in particular, the young guys have to learn how to play with the proper technique, but then also, coaching, we have to understand that not every player can execute what we want them to with this exact technique. And how do we change techniques or maybe use a different technique for this individual so he can get his job done? And so that's kind of what I was referring to on Monday when I'm talking about a man coverage, of making sure we're playing with the proper technique every single play, and also looking at different ways to change our technique depending on what we're trying to defend.
Okay, so he was talking mostly about the man technique is what he was saying. So again, Jesse, your thoughts on the response you just heard about that?
I liked that response a lot more because we started to pinpoint some stuff and understand, exactly the meaning behind his words. So, it sounds like it's a good combination of both. You have young guys out there who are trying to get experience, and a technique that might work for Leonard Moore probably isn't going to work for Dallas Golden or Zachary or some of these other young guys, Tay Johnson, that are working their way into the secondary. So I like that, understanding that maybe we have to we do have to tweak the technique, and I think that's a big part of this as well. I know Chris Ash is not calling it well and probably causing a lot of confusion with different coverage schemes and all that stuff. But, a large part of this still, in my opinion, is a lot of these younger guys are getting their feet wet and are, they are trying to figure out what techniques can work in the scheme that they're trying to run. So I think regardless of if Al Golden was still, defensive coordinator, I think these are still some of the pains that we would have seen going through this season. I think it obviously wouldn't have been as bad, but I still think that these younger guys would have gone through a little bit of growing pains.
See, but I agree with what I Am Tenzin, son of Ang, is saying here in the YouTube chat. These technique issues weren't prevalent with Mike Mickens.
And again, that goes back to the type of coverage and scheme that they're doing. So
right. So is it really the technique, or is it still just what you're asking them to do? Because it's
a cocktail, but how much of it goes, how much of it is this and how much of it is that?
There are just so many free releases. Is that the players' fault? Is that what they're being asked to do? What's the technique adjustment in that?
I don't have the answer to that.
And I didn't think you would, and I wasn't trying to stump you, but it feels more about that. Again, it feels more about what they're being asked to do than the way they're executing it. To me, I think there's a lot of people that kind of feel like that as well, but especially when you compare it to what we've seen them to be, asked to be, what we've seen them asked to be, I can't even say it. What we've seen them execute in the past, the way they were asked to execute it in the past, the kind of defense, the style of play, everything was different in the past. And again, the difference is you've got a different coordinator now calling the shots, and it feels more about what he wants versus what old guy wanted. Because again, you have the same position coach who we all hyped up, and we have all hyped up. He predated Al Golden. He's recruited these guys well. He's brought them in. It feels like he's taught them really well in the time that he's been here, Mike Mickens, but everything looks different now. And it just feels like it's because of the coordinator that you've got. So more on technique, more questions on technique. How much of these technique issues are not showing up during the week in practice, but then show up when you get out there on game day? Here's Freeman's answer to that.
I think as you look, sometimes you can't simulate the speed of the game in practice that you're going to see in a game. And when you do scout teams, you're trying to stress, the defense with speed as well as you can, but you can't always go good on good. We do a lot of good on good, but there's a lot of scout team stuff that we have to really work on to make sure schematically we know what we're doing against our opponent. And so, we've been intentional about trying to stress both sides of the ball with speed and physicality. And but there is still, until you get into the game, you have to understand that the look you're getting in practices might be the schematic look, but it might not be at the speed you're going to see it with on game day. And so how do we continue to get our young guys to play with the technique that will help them be successful when it's full speed in a game versus extremely fast players is the ultimate challenge, right? They have to understand that the technique you need to play within a game isn't always going to be replicated in practice to produce the result you want. And so I can be successful in practice and maybe not have to use the proper exact technique that I would have to use in a game. And so we got to continue to get them, don't be outcome driven in practice, but to be technique driven, and that will help them produce the results they want in the game. And so I think it's always a fine line when you talk about the difference between the urgency that we have to improve, but we can't panic. Panic means that, to me, it's like we're screwed up. The things that we've have done, the vision, the philosophies aren't what it needs to be. And as I've said in the press conference, I don't think that's the case. It's an urgency to fix those things we've identified that are resulting in a lack of execution.
I'm just not buying it. I'm sorry.
That was horrible.
The whole scout team argument. Well, the guys on the scout team aren't as fast.
So that means you're not recruiting well then.
Well, and not only that, has the scout team existed for the last 3 years?
Right.
Scout team's been around the last basically forever. Like what's different in practice compared to the last 3 years? You're always going to see scout team players. But again, now all of a sudden that's a factor when it hasn't been a factor the last 3 years. So I can't buy that argument.
Well, and the thing is it's just not valid because when you're running coverage, you're still ending up at the same landmarks in the same part of the field, the same spot in the field. I can maybe see you can't replicate someone's speed and shiftiness and how they get in and out of their breaks. Sure. But when you're running coverage, the answer is the answer. You either man on your man or you're getting to a landmark on the field. It's not, it's regardless of who's running it. And again, if you're really going to go down this scout team route, then you're basically saying your guys aren't good enough to be, wide receivers, running backs elsewhere. You're Notre Dame and you're still recruiting at a high level. Your guys should be able to give you a good look in practice.
You got Scrap Richardson out there on scout team, whether it's receiver or quarterback or wherever. That's one of your athletes. He is a fast dude. You're telling me he can't replicate. So like Mario Craver or some of these other guys that they've gone up against, regardless of what position he happens to be playing. So that's he
scrambling?
A tough sell. That's a tough sell. What's that?
Is Freeman scrambling?
I don't know. Because the other thing is, okay, scout team speed is different than actual varsity guy speed when you get out there on Saturday. Well, what about the fact that you've got mass confusion even before the ball is snapped? Right. Nobody knows where to line up. That's has nothing to do with who's on the other side of the ball. Nothing.
You should at least
other than the number of on the guy's jersey.
And that would lead me to: is the defensive staff doing enough preparation? Are you recognizing enough of their formations and tendencies? Is Texas A&M and Miami really showing something that they haven't seen or that they're prepared for? Because that's where the confusion comes from is, oh my gosh, they're in this look that we haven't practiced all week. What do we do? And so at that point, are you not doing enough of your due diligence to be prepared? And I don't know. The more I listen to Marcus Freeman, I think the more he's scrambling and rambling because I don't think he has the answers anymore. You can only go to the well so many times. And I think what he's not wanting to admit is, I think the obvious that we've all been saying is Chris Ash just isn't cut for the job, but he can't say that right now, 3 weeks in. So he has to give answers like this where he's, basically giving excuses of, well, our scout team guys aren't able to replicate what Miami and Texas A&M are able to do out there. I've never heard a coach say that before.
There's a lot of things that I've heard in the last 3 weeks that I haven't heard before. And again, having done this a long time, there's just a lot of things that I've heard that haven't come up. Definitely haven't come up over the last 3 years. I'll tell you that. When the defensive coach, that's the biggest variable difference is the guy calling the defense, the guy with the title. And someone asked, isn't Mike Mickens the passing game coordinator? Brent asked that. He does still bear that title, passing game coordinator. But, and this is a big but, that predates the arrival of Chris Ash. He has had that title, going back to Al Golden being the defensive coordinator. So I think that essentially, there was a complete reset of who's doing what and whose responsibility is what and who gets to call what shots since Chris Ash took over. And I think we can all agree that those changes have not really benefited anyone.
I mean, this is shaping up to be, I hate to be dramatic. I mean, it's just shaping up to be the worst decision of Marcus Freeman's tenure.
As it stands right now, it is. Hold that thought. Got a couple more comments from him. We'll take a timeout, and we will hear them before we get to 6 o'clock. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Continue winding down the first hour of the show. Budweiser's weekday sports beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Sean Stiers, Jesse Stiers with you. Bobby Hensley in for rapid fire in hour number 2 tonight. Well, I've got another comment or two about technique. Jess, if you want to hear it, do you want to hear it at this point?
I think I've been technique out, teched out.
I'll go ahead and play this last one anyway. You know, like all this technique being the focus of what they need to do and all that kind of stuff. How much focus has been on technique versus Arkansas prep, and how has the team responded to the challenge from Freeman this week?
Yeah, our guys are fierce competitors. They want to do the things it takes to produce a result that they believe they can achieve. And, every one of these guys have owned it. They believe that it's part of, it's never one person's fault, right? That's what it takes to create success, is the ownership of, hey, it's all of us. It's all of us. We all got to buy in. We all got to work on it. We've tried to be more intentional maybe about having a little bit more individual time, with certain positions to work on that technique that we've been talking about. But you can't just do all individual in practice. You got to continue. You got to make sure that our guys understand the schemes they're facing on Saturday.
All right, so there you heard it. Anything worthwhile that that hit you there?
I mean, it literally right before you said individual periods, I was thinking, that's when you want to work this sort of stuff, is like pre-practice, individuals, like as the first couple periods go. I mean, for people who maybe don't understand the structure of practice, you got pre-practice, you got your individual periods, and you start getting into like team run, team pass, and then you get together on team defense. So really, I think the frustrating part listening to this is the technique stuff should be drilled down in camp. Like, that's where you spend a lot of your time in camp. And so, maybe that kind of comes back full circle, is you drilled all these technique stuff and you got it down, and now you're switching it up and no one has the technique because it's not what you practiced all fall camp. And like you said, the only technique stuff you want to work is maybe something you're doing specific to Arkansas. Like, it shouldn't be this complete overhaul of, we got to learn how to play man coverage in the middle of week 4 versus Arkansas. You're practicing specific stuff that you think is going to be effective for Arkansas. Like, maybe you pick up a new tool in the technique bucket because, Arkansas wide receiver presents this issue, and here's how we're going to defend that or fit up against that. So it's really frustrating because, again, and that's basically what he said, is like, we need to be, our main focus is preparing for Arkansas. There's really no time to do technique. And yeah, that is the case. You shouldn't have these technique things that you need to overhaul right now.
And this is what it feels like. If, again, these things that we've heard about, they were doing one thing for the majority of camp, and then camp broke and they start prepping for Miami. And now it's like, well, we're not doing that anymore. We're actually, this is going to be our main mode of operation. And the technique now and everything that they're doing is maybe not completely different, but vastly different from what they did for the majority of camp. So you wasted the 2.5, 3 weeks.
The most important time.
Right. And now they're playing catch up on all of this stuff. It's like, like the thing that I'm going back to is like, as a hitter, for example, in baseball, here's what I would liken it to. Like, you can't, like, the day of the game say, well, I need to tweak this aspect of my swing, because if I'm focusing on that, like we used to talk about some of this stuff with the fundamentals and the mechanics of like Brandon Wimbush's throwing motion, for example. Once the season starts, you can't start tweaking with that kind of stuff, because essentially the muscle memory that you have is everything that you've done through the majority of your offseason. And so now you can't all of a sudden say, well, I've got to make this mechanical change, or I've got to make this technique change, because that's not your muscle memory anymore. And so now, as opposed to focusing on actually defending, your receiver, your man, whatever, it happens to be, you're thinking about little technique issues, trying to make sure the technique's right. And when you do that, you're never going to play fast when that becomes your focus during a game.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Marcus Freeman always talks about playing with velocity and clarity. How can guys do that when they're worried about, am I playing the technique? Am I getting to the right spot on the field? Should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? Here's the number one thing I'm looking for, and I think this will kind of maybe wrap up there's just been so much defensive talk this week, as there should be, because that's the biggest issue right now.
For the last 3 weeks, there's been so much defensive talk.
What I'd like to see Notre Dame do this week is just be more creative with pressures, bring 4 or 5 guys, just be creative, don't make it simple, stupid at the end of the day. And in the secondary, let's just press. Let's play. Let's not let them get free releases off the line of scrimmage. Let's play a lot of majority man. Let's not get caught in zone. At the end of the day, everyone can play man. Everyone can run with their guy, right? As long as you know who your guy is, have a little help over top, man under, safety over top, and just play violent. Just play fast, At the end of the day, if you blow your assignment, but hit someone's head off or have the intent to take someone's head off at the end of the day.
All right. Jesse is all about decapitation. Glad to hear that today. Going back to
and I want to clarify too, the dog Naomi I don't know what she's doing. The last hour she's been trying to wrangle this dog that's on the loose outside, and Henry is not liking that at all. I think he sees this dog, he sees mom out there with this dog.
There's jealousy going on in there.
There's some jealousy, and we know whose dog it is. It's this neighborhood dog that gets out every 2 or 3 months, it seems like, and the owner just doesn't care. And now Naomi's taking it, her responsibility to make sure this dog gets home safe, but it's driving the rest of the house nuts.
All right. Josh says you hit the nail on the head. I agree.
Thanks, Josh.
With Josh, I agree with you as well. Good luck with your tux fitting.
Thank you.
We'll see how it all comes out in about a week or so, and might talk to you tomorrow. I don't know. I don't know who's going to be with me.
I'll be here tomorrow.
You will be here tomorrow?
I told you I can do a whole show tomorrow if you need me to.
All right. Vince is still questionable, leaning toward maybe probable. I heard he tried to work some things out today, so we'll see how that goes. I don't know.
You just let me know. You need me for an hour, you need me for 2 hours.
Might just be me. Might just go to Home Depot, get a little crazy, fun little Saturday. I don't know.
Naomi's gone. I got the whole house to myself.
All right. I'll talk to you later. Good luck. Good luck and good night. Jesse's out. Bobby's coming in next. Hour number 2. It's Rapid Fire. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com.
Pro Football Hall of Fame, and then there's the College Football Hall of Fame. But I was thinking this morning that if you combined it like basketball, and it was just, there was a Football Hall of Fame, you could count college and pro. I would make an argument today, the greatest coach in the history of football is not Bill Belichick or Bill Walsh or Vince Lombardi. It's Jim Harbaugh, the greatest coach ever. Think about this. He's never failed. He's 5 for 5. At San Diego, Stanford, San Francisco 49ers, Michigan, and the Chargers. He's never failed. Saban and Urban, unbelievable college legends, struggled in the NFL. He's also not tied to a single player. What's Belichick without Brady? Not great.
I think I finally see what all the conversation was about in the YouTube chat. As we start hour number 2 of Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com, I hit this Colin Cowherd cut that we're going to be talking about here in a little bit, and apparently it played in the YouTube stream. So that's what all the conversation was about. Not that anyone listening on the radio cares, but how's it going over there, Bobby?
It's going really good.
I'm glad you pointed at that
You
because
muted me last week.
I know.
I had like several insults that I threw at you.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, well, we can't hear
good
Bobby.
Points you thought you were making, and you were off mic the whole time. Yeah.
You know, that's some of my best stuff. I usually come in hot.
I'm glad you realized that the red light was not on there.
This isn't rocket science. We're just talking.
And it's allegedly some of your best
I'm
stuff,
just shocked there's an announce with my name on it. Where did that come from?
I forgot that it was there. It's been so infrequent that it's just you and I. There's like 18 different. I don't even know what the actual combinations would be, but there are a lot of different combinations. And I just realized I have the one that says Sean and Bobby. So that's what we got.
I don't want anything that says Sean and Bobby. I'd rather not have that.
Before we cut out of the last hour, we were talking about Jesse and his wedding next week and, you know, getting ready for all the dancing and the party. Irish for Life 99 says, are we all invited to the party? If you're in the Canton, Ohio area next week, a week from Saturday, October 4th, stop on by probably around 6 o'clock or so. Place should be hopping. Little reception going on.
That's where you'll be.
That is where I'll be.
I'd hope.
That's right. Have the game recording, and no, I won't be watching the game during any of the wedding or the festivities or any of that.
I was going to ask, so when you record a game or you have to play something back, do you accidentally get spoilers? Do you purposely avoid social media or your phone, or what do you do? Because you get a lot of texts all the time.
Avoid it as much as possible, but
does it work?
You know how, like, there's just no way, because I'll be on my phone at some point and I'll see what's going on. So, like, it's just, at that point, you watch it after the fact. You just have to watch so you can actually,
because it's your job,
see what happened. Yeah, that's right. It's not about staying spoiler free, I guess.
It's really hard though. I've been doing that before, and I'll randomly check something, and it'll be like this post about how to fix your car, and the first comment is, "Can you believe Notre Dame won?" And I'm like, well, how does that intertwine? But it seems to every time.
There you go. Tommy Guns has got a surprise for me. Appreciate that, Tommy. All right,
every week.
Let's do a little bit of rapid fire with Bobby Hensley, Sean Stiers. Jaden Greathouse finished last season with 592 receiving yards. On a scale of 1 to 10, what is your confidence Greathouse will exceed that this year?
I'm going to have to put it at 2, because he has 41 yards right now on 2 receptions through 3 games. And the only reason I'm saying a 2 is because you don't know what'll happen. He might break a couple big passes and he might be fine. He might get some yards later, but I just don't see it happening. I'm confused at why this is a question. I think a guy through 3 games, 41 yards shouldn't even be. Will he get to 500? I doubt it.
I'm kind of doubting it at this point. I thought that coming into this season, this was going to be a pretty easy number for him to get to. I think everybody thought that. We thought the Greathouse was going to be a big, important part of the offense through 3 games. That hasn't happened. Now, as we saw in the playoff run last year, that can change in an instant, because, like, think about it. Most of what he did in the Penn State game, like half of it came on the one catch in the fourth quarter,
Sure.
And then everything kind of happened all at once. It felt like in the Ohio State game, in the national championship game as well. So there's still 9 games left to go in the regular season. I'll put this at a 3. Maybe I'll say I'm a little bit more confident than you, but as of right now, I mean.
So you're agreeing with what Joe Allen says, a 3. So nobody's saying a 0. They're all saying it's possible.
Yeah.
But what happened to that momentum that he
John
had
is
from the
very
playoffs?
confident. It's a 10.
Well, he must have bet the over preseason then.
I think it has mostly to do with the way they're operating with CJ Carr at quarterback, because of the turnovers that we heard about, the interceptions that we heard about during training camp. I think a lot of that happened in the middle of the field. The slot receiver is going to operate predominantly in the middle of the field. So, there's a lot more of those kind of targets that now there are other things you can do still to get him involved if that's what you want. But again, like that's the safety gets involved in those kind of things. And I think as a young quarterback, you're probably trying to avoid some of that kind of stuff. There have been some opportunities that he's had where he hasn't quite reeled some in, but there, like there was the late pass that he got. I'm not putting that on him by any means, but I think as of right now, where they want the offense funneling with CJ Carr still developing and learning, I just don't think that the slot, we did see a little bit of Will Pauling last week, who again, like the other slot receiver. So Pauling was involved. I think that there will be some opportunities, but I'm just not very confident that he gets in the vicinity of 600 yards. Like I think where he's at right now, probably be happy if he even ends up with 4 or 450 at this point.
Well, yeah, I think one game, if he could have a breakout game, that would change this over-under that you kind of asked. It would change everything, but I think you'd be excited just to see the end zone and have more than 2 catches through 3 games. I just can't believe it, because I was like, this is a weird question for Sean to ask, because it seems like he's almost forgotten about in the rhythm of the offense right now. So I don't know where that momentum went from the end of last year. I thought that he'd be coming out. I thought he might emerge a little bit more, especially for a rookie quarterback, throwing across, some short passes, and maybe he breaks a couple. But I just don't see anything out of him that would inspire that he would have over 400 for the whole season. So I don't know why you would even have this as the over under, because
so basically, yeah. So what you're saying is like he's not even in the ballpark. He's hardly even sniffing the ball. So why are we even talking about this?
Well, I guess I just wonder if you're just asking, like trying to keep him relevant and have people remember that he's around. But I don't see anything about him or his explosiveness that's this year inspiring that he'll have that many yards.
I've got you. I'm Tenzin. I'm the son of Ang. Says, let's go 10 personnel, baby. Let's just get all those receivers on the field.
Chuck the pigskin.
That's right. See what they can do. I can't go out on too many limbs. I've been pretty good with my over-unders the last couple of weeks, but
there's no what over-under? There's only
that's
been
right.
overs.
Like
there's no unders.
Great House isn't even going to show up at this point because he hasn't seen the ball enough. Like they're not even going to put a line out for him.
That's true. He's number 4 target probably in the receiver room
at best.
Yeah.
ND Forever 72 in the YouTube chat asks, how confident am I if for some reason, and it's not happened yet, the offense has an off day, this defense could win them a game? I would say, let's see, there are 9 games remaining, including this weekend against Arkansas. So on a scale of 1 to 9, I would go 1. As of right now, Navy would be the only game that I would be confident in because you don't have to worry about the pass game like you do the other opponents with Navy. Like Notre Dame is actually pretty solid against the run. So that would honestly be it. They've look, until they show the corner, until they turn the corner, they've shown nothing that says they're even close to turning a corner defensively, unless you're going to, use the second half against Purdue last week as your example. So I'm not confident in that right now.
I think that's an interesting question because what would your answer have been before the season?
Probably at least a 7.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking it was higher towards 10.
And it might have even been an 8. Yeah.
And now I don't even know. The Navy, but that's an anomaly anyway because of the way the matchup is with their running game and their blocking schemes. But I would put it at a 1 because the only way I could see it happening is if there's some random tip passes and they get some turnovers, maybe a pick 6, but I wouldn't count on it. And I don't think they're going to stop a team from scoring all game long. As the field they keep going down the field, I don't see any way that the Notre Dame defense is going to be what prides themselves.
Right. I mean, look at the Miami game, look at the Texas A&M game. When both of those teams had to score, they scored. Look at the end of the first half against Purdue. It only took them 53 seconds to move 75 yards and into the end zone. They haven't shown that when they absolutely have to get a stop, they can come close to getting a stop. They can't get off the field on third down most of the time.
And it's just wild to me because you wouldn't expect that coming into the season. And now it's almost like what you thought was their strength was their defense is a huge weakness. And it's like, well, at least they're putting up points and Carr doesn't look overwhelmed at this level. And the whole year is in flux, but we're only a few plays away or a couple points here or there away from them being undefeated. So it's all I know what you're saying about,
but it's not because of any contributions from the defense.
Zero contributions from the defense, but just the team as a whole. If they were undefeated and they're number 3 right now and they're moving forward and they're learning, they're evolving, you would think of this question completely differently. Like, well, they've had some bumps in the road, but they keep finding a way to win, and they're so close to that, but they haven't done it. And this weekend's another big matchup with an SEC opponent.
Exactly. And a really good offense to boot. All right. Fill in the blank. Notre Dame defensive lineman Gabriel Rubio was asked this week about line improvement. It's blank that he said just violence. Violence is an answer to a lot of different things.
I think that's vague would be the word I'd pick. I appreciate it because that's like coach speak. I want to play for somebody that's violent, that wants to go run through a wall, that wants to do all this stuff. Yeah, Jesse said violent towards the end of his time here last hour.
Uh-huh.
But I don't think it really means anything. So I think it's incredibly vague.
It's vague. As a defensive lineman, you're saying he's being vague. I don't think he could be any more specific is what he's saying. He's saying at the end of the day, beat up the man in front of you, and that will accomplish a lot. I can
then say that. He didn't say that. He said violence.
There was more to the answer than just violence, but the violent part is what stood out. This is football, Bobby. And there's a reason his former defensive coordinator, Al Golden, called him a rolling ball of nails last year. Like, this is one of the toughest guys and the most physical guys on the entire team. And, again, like going back to what I was talking about, I think it's significant that as much as the defense as a whole has struggled this year, the run defense, they're giving up less than 3.5 yards per carry right now. So like the run defense is actually held up fairly well. Like from a pass rush standpoint and those kind of things, yeah, there's still some things to be desired. But when it actually comes to shutting down another team's running game, they've done really well. And I think the starting point was shutting down another team's run game, especially when you're a defensive lineman and you're a battering ram on every play. I think violence goes a long way. So I'm in on this answer. I'm digging the answer from Gabriel Rubio. What do you mean it's vague? Come on, Bobby.
It's like the chess.
Do you even watch football, Bobby?
It's at least a fun answer. I don't know. I would rather have more specifics about what we're going to do. Just violent, I don't know. Like, to me, it's like fun. It's good.
What is a defensive lineman supposed to tell you about, what exactly
shredding blocks, getting in the hole, gonna stop at everything?
Because he also talked about
hit them hard, hit them high,
sticking your cleats in the ground and doing all this kind of stuff. But it's like
not moving backwards. Let's just keep moving forwards.
Doesn't
that momentum downhill, that kind of stuff.
Doesn't violence just sound better than sticking your cleats in the ground at the end of the day? Like, wouldn't you rather hear that as an answer from a football player?
Yeah, I just want to hear a football player say, I guarantee we're going to win. I want more bulletin board material. I want them to say stuff.
Oh, so you want him going out on a limb and like getting himself in trouble, getting the team in trouble and all that?
You say trouble, I'm going to think it's motivational.
Okay. All right. We will take a timeout. When we come back, we've got more rapid fire with the always, I don't even know what to call him, Bobby Hensley.
You come up with different adjectives every time.
1 in a million. Budweiser's weekday sports.
Not in a good way.
IrishBreakdown.com. Budweiser's weekday sports beat with IrishBreakdown.com and Rapid Fire continues. Along with Bobby Hensley, I'm Sean Stiers. Bobby, here's what Jeremiah Love had to say about the Wildcat formation he ran this week against Texas A&M. I hope this meets your standards. I know standards are very high in terms of what players are saying, apparently. Quote, "You've just got to keep practicing it, keep doing it, evolve it into more than just running the ball, I believe. Like some misdirection or whatever it may be. Coaches, that's their problem to think about." End quote. That is blank.
I think that's a violent reply to no. I think it's accurate. I don't the coaches are the ones that come up with the schemes, especially as a running back running the Wildcat. He's not going to be calling it or whatever. They got to already have it in place for him to know what to do. So it's accurate, but the Wildcat, I just think it's a gimmick that might be outplayed, like overplayed. We're just done with it. If you need
I agree with that.
there's other ways to do it.
Completely agree with that. Now, Mike Denbrock said this week that the specific reason they ran Wildcat against Texas A&M was because of specific looks that Texas A&M gave that made that, make sense. I like what Jeremiah Love is saying, though, because it's what we've been saying as well. Evolve it into more than just running the ball, like some misdirection. Like that's, if you're going to keep doing it, that's the element that you have to add to it, whether it's bringing a receiver in motion and then Love takes the snap, fakes a handoff to that receiver, jet sweep. So you've got the defense following that to the left, say, and then Jeremiah Love takes off to the right, kind of like what we talked about last week with some of the whiteboard stuff.
I was just saying, I don't have my whiteboard here to help illustrate it.
to put it up all, yeah.
I think there's so many reasons why that could all work. One, you get to decide if you're in zone or man. Two, you're doing a different wrinkle that they haven't seen before. Three, you could add something new to the whole thing by throwing it back to Carr, who might be able to throw a pass or something.
Right.
Almost like in the Tebow era.
Philly special or whatever it happens
or whatever
to be.
you want to do. And then the last thing is if you only need 1 yard, you could also maybe pull them off sides, because as soon as you move motion, one of those linemen that's ready to run downhill, because I think you're coming right up the middle, they're going to jump off sides and you snap it and then you got a free play. So there's so many reasons why I think that the Wildcat can work if it's evolved. But as it is now, just snapping it to a running back and right up the middle, I think it's one of the most giveaway plays for an offense that they can possibly do, because everybody knows you're just going right up the middle.
That was a very evolved answer from you, is what that was.
Well, I chose violence today.
You really took that to another level.
Yeah.
I like that.
I'm trying to help you here. You wanted me to say something. I'm trying to say stuff. And then you get mad at me because I talk too much or too little. There's just no winning with you.
I've never gotten mad at you because you talk too much. Never.
You keep biting me back.
So not once. That's right. See, take that as a sign. You don't have to get.
See, everybody's giving me crap for the Longhorns
about
hoodie that I'm wearing. And when I left the house this morning, I didn't know I was doing radio or I wouldn't be wearing it. So I'll be honest. I do like Texas, but that's the reason why. I didn't know I'd be here.
Tommy asking about the trip to Ohio next week. We're going to Canton, of course, for Jesse's wedding. And Tommy's asking if we're coming in on Friday. You can come to the Massillon game, he says. We're not. We're actually making the trip there on Thursday because there are things that are going on the rehearsal dinner is Friday night, and there are other things going on during the day. It's basically, for the most part, just get to be a driver, someone who eats a little bit, someone, who makes a toast at the rehearsal dinner. And other than that, I just have to show up and try to keep everybody happy and chauffeur people around. But there are other people who have things that I, have to make sure that they're in the right place at the right time.
Do you have the toast already prepared? What 1 to 10?
I'm
fill in the
working on
blank. How prepared is Sean Stiers for the toast?
On a scale of 1 to 10, I'll say I'm at a 4 right now. I'm formulating some things. Would you be more sentimental, or would you try to at least, mix in some humor with it?
I think that you do the sandwich. Somebody taught me about these compliment sandwiches. So you start with something nice, then you got to give a little rib or make it fun because, that you're supposed to be entertaining and you talk for a living, and then end it with something sweet. And the very crucial part, always remember to toast at the end. So many people forget to toast.
They do forget the toast. I think you're right about that. I think like too many. Now, again, like I'm just the father of the groom, so my responsibilities are rather, like it's on the low end, but too many people make it about like these wedding speeches and stuff like that. Like I've heard a lot of best men, and it's like they make it either about themselves or like too much about like the one person they know. You have to actually involve the other person, the fiance in this as well, and even like some of their family. So it's like I'm taking all these things into account. But honestly, what I'm doing is I'm trying to find just like funny wedding speeches that I've seen in movies and try to draw on some of that. Not that I'm going to be a comedian by any means.
I'll make it very quick, but when I've been the best man a few times, I always have a rubric. You introduce yourself, you say how you met the groom, you say how lovely the bride is, you tell a funny story, you tell a redeeming quality, toast, and you're out. And if the best speeches are the ones that are forgotten.
I think you're right, and that's what I've thought about as well. At the end of the day, nobody's going to remember what I say,
especially at the rehearsal dinner. Hopefully they're drunk enough that nobody's.
Well, and that's like don't get me started on that. I already told my wife.
Sponsored by Budweiser.
I already told my wife that I get the JV speech. Like I don't even get the reception speech.
See, I think of that a little bit differently. You're giving the pregame speech. You got to get everybody amped for the weekend. You got to get them pumped for the next day.
See, this is where I'm going. Indy Forever 72 says, get some advice from Wedding Crashers. I need to watch all of Wedding Crashers and Old School, because remember, Old School starts with a wedding. So like that, like Frank the Tank and the whole thing in there.
I don't know if I'd go with that one. That didn't seem to end well.
Well, I think I'll stay away from the Luke Wilson. Like you think you've got true love until one day you walk in.
True love is you finding your soul's counterpoint in another. That's from Wedding Crashers.
Oh, there you go. There you go. See?
No.
That's what we're talking about right there.
You're not invited to my wedding, so don't worry about it.
Oh, okay.
All but if I was, I would have you give a speech.
Oh, even though you're not in on my speech path.
Well, maybe Jesse should live stream yours, and then we can decide where we go from there.
Okay. All right. So Colin Cowherd, never afraid of a hot take. He had this one about former Michigan and current Los Angeles Chargers head coach Jim Harbaugh.
Pro Football Hall of Fame. And then there's the College Football Hall of Fame. But I was thinking this morning that if you combined it like basketball, and it was just, there was a Football Hall of Fame. You could count college and pro. I would make an argument today. The greatest coach in the history of football is not Bill Belichick or Bill Walsh or Vince Lombardi. It's Jim Harbaugh, the greatest coach ever. Think about this. He's never failed. He's 5 for 5 at San Diego, Stanford, San Francisco 49ers, Michigan, and the Chargers. He's never failed. Saban and Urban, unbelievable college legends, struggled in the NFL. He's also not tied to a single player. What's Belichick without Brady? Not great.
Okay, Bobby, do you buy or sell that?
I want to sell so hard, but the way he framed his discussion, I see Bill Walsh in the comments. That's a good one. He's got to be up there of one of the most successful at both levels because he has a championship in college. He makes the playoffs in the pros, but his San Francisco run didn't end well.
But he only has one championship. He has the college championship,
which is under scrutiny.
Pete Carroll, Jimmy Johnson, and even Barry Switzer.
Switzer might be my pick.
Even Barry's Switzer was a much better college coach. I think it was at 3 national championships he won at Oklahoma before he, before obviously he was kind of gift wrapped the Super Bowl with the Cowboys.
But he still got it.
But those 3 guys, Switzer, Johnson, and Pete Carroll, all have championships at both levels. Jim Harbaugh just has a college championship. Now he's been to a Super Bowl with the 49ers, but he didn't win it. And it's only one championship total. So let's take Belichick and Saban. Neither one of them have, Belichick has all the NFL championships. Saban has all the college championships, but don't those multiple titles outweigh Harbaugh's one?
Yeah. The Nick Saban one I'm incredibly biased on, so I'll pass on him because his time in the pros was epically a failure. The Carroll stuff I get, but then the end of what Cowherd is saying is that Carroll was tied to one specific run that the Seahawks had. And maybe even at USC with Leinart and Bush.
Yeah, but he was responsible for the run. He built that run.
I'm not. I guess I still think when you lay out Carroll's resume, it's a better one than Harbaugh's. I'm just saying that because Harbaugh, like I say, what bugs me is that his ending in San Francisco was pretty bad. It's not that he just wanted to leave to go to Michigan. He kind of lost his job first, then went to Michigan. So that I think that's where I'm like, really? We're going to say that he was really good because he made one Super Bowl? I don't agree with any of that. But the tying to one team, like where Saban won at LSU, Saban won at Alabama. So he had multiple runs at different places. That's where I think you can argue against Cowherd and say that there's more to it. But Harbaugh is just winning one championship at Michigan that it's kind of looking like maybe it's just because they stole some signs.
At the very least, it's tainted.
Yeah. And then his run in San Francisco ended pretty poorly.
Plus the show cause that he got. He couldn't coach in college right now if he wanted to.
No. And that's why also he left because he knew what was coming. I think he knew the sanctions were coming. And all right, I got my championship. And they only beat couple good teams that year anyway. It wasn't like their team was epically great, that he laid out something that nobody could beat. It's just that they beat Ohio State, got in the playoff, and then won it.
Yeah, I think Cowherd's argument for Harbaugh is utterly idiotic. Scott L. Esquire says also combining college football and the NFL is not a thing. They're vastly different sports. Stupid thought experiment. I agree with that as well. And that's why
talk about.
but it's also why there are so few, like the guys that we just mentioned are the only coaches to win championships at both levels. Jimmy Johnson, Pete Carroll, Barry Switzer. That's it. That's the list.
Two of them were on the same run in the NFL.
What do you mean on the same
Jimmy
run?
Johnson, Barry Switzer, both with the Cowboys.
Oh, yeah. Because again, like if Johnson sticks around with the Cowboys, there's obviously a complete argument that the Cowboys might win 4 straight Super Bowls if things don't blow up between him and Jerry Jones. I'm not saying it's an absolute that it would have happened, but there's a chance that it did because things like the Switzer taking over and the his lax nature compared to Jimmy Johnson and personality differences. Look, I know I'm biased.
I was going to say, who's your favorite football team in the pros?
But look, Jimmy Johnson was elite at both. And again, like could not stand the man when he was at Miami,
Right.
but when he takes over my pro team and leads them out of the gutter into 2 quick Super Bowls and, again, like would have won more most likely had he stayed on. So let me ask you this, bench cut. I can't talk today. We will Jim Harbaugh, Jimmy Johnson, Pete Carroll. Who you starting? Who you benching? Who you cutting between those 3?
I guess I'm starting Jimmy Johnson because, like, you convinced me. He's done great work. He even took the U from on the verge of being championship, actually winning the championships and being a perennial contender through shady methods.
True.
But then he went to the pros, parlayed that into the pros, got his championship there. So I'm starting him. I'm benching Pete Carroll because he's good. I want him at just in case Jimmy's not doing something. I got Pete Carroll ready to put in. And then I could get rid of Harbaugh really easy. His whole time it made himself a brand and a personality. I don't think he's as good as the perception of Harbaugh. I think his brother's better than him.
I do too. I think that his brother, who obviously has already won a Super Bowl, I think that he could, like if he were to coach in college, I think that he would be running, a year in, year out championship type contending team if he was in college.
Well, even right now, Harbaugh's in San Diego or Los Angeles Chargers. He got Justin Herbert in a ready-made team. I don't know how he keeps falling into these ready-made situations that he doesn't really have to architect anything. He just inherits and wins with what he's got because he already has a talented group. So I'm ready to cut him.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'd start Johnson. I'd bench Carroll. I would cut Jim Harbaugh. And it's not because I don't believe Harbaugh isn't a good coach. I do believe it, because like the path that Cowherd outlined, it's like, yeah, he did have a lot of success. I mean, he's the one who built Stanford, handed it off to David Shaw, and they were
good for a while.
They were perennial. Yeah, after that, because of the blueprint that he laid out. Yeah, he turned around the 49ers, got him to a Super Bowl. And yeah, he won a national championship with Michigan. He has had success everywhere he's gone. They're probably going to be really good. The Chargers this year, based on the way that they've started so far. But I can't put him in front of these other guys when you're talking about combining the NFL and college, because he only has the championship at one level and it's only one title.
I guess if you really want to give him compliments, is he one of maybe the best professional player to turn into a coach? That would be a different argument.
Him, I think Ditka is up there.
Yeah, but Ditka didn't do anything. So I'm saying the college NFL hybrid.
Like doing both.
Yeah,
okay.
Right.
Yeah,
Ditka obviously
for
won a
sure.
Super Bowl.
I would say for sure.
And he's a Hall of Fame tight
in
end.
terms of guys who played and coached it at both levels and had
so but now we're putting a lot of qualifiers on it.
Exactly.
But there's that you could at least argue that. And I don't like Harbaugh, but he did have a decent NFL career and he coached both levels at a high level. So
take our last time out and then back to wrap up rapid fire Budweiser's weekday sports beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Winding down Budweiser's weekday sports beat with IrishBreakdown.com with Bobby Hensley. Sean Stiers, we've got time for another topic or two. Fill in the blank, Bobby. Chiefs and Ravens both play this weekend. They're both 1-2. It's blank. One of them is going to be 1-3 when it's all said and done.
Shocking. Those are both such good teams that have the history of winning. I know a lot of people don't like Mahomes. They've gotten Mahomes fatigue, but he still finds a way to win those big games. He just hasn't this year. And then the Ravens, they might be the most talented offensive team, and their defense is pretty solid. So it's kind of shocking that one of them is going to be 1-3. I would never have guessed that coming into this.
I mean, you're talking about two teams that have been in the playoffs the last few years, both came in Super Bowl favorites. The Chiefs, they just have, with the injuries that they have on offense, they were already thin, but with Worthy injured, and I guess it's not an injury, Rashee Rice, but still you're without a guy who was a playmaker last year, because of the suspension. But they just it's just amazing. But I think it also kind of goes to, hasn't this the way the NFL put the schedule together this year, it just seems really front loaded with all these marquee games. As much as anything, just the level of competition these teams have had to play, because the Ravens have already played Buffalo. They played Detroit last week on Monday Night Football. Now they're going to play the Chiefs, and the Chiefs have already played the chart. So it's not like these teams, they've lost to bad teams is what I'm saying. So someone's going to be in a really big hole. Someone's going to come out happy to, think that they're still contenders, but it's just amazing that to think that they're both 1-2 going into this game this weekend.
Well, a couple weeks ago, I was looking through the matchups. I was like, "Oh, Eagles and Chiefs. I'll just get ready for that for my Sunday night game.
Yeah,
I'll have dinner."
Super Bowl rematch.
But it wasn't even on Sunday night. It was during the 4:00 window.
That's true.
The game of the week, and
by the way, one of the most boring games that I've seen so far. It just shows Drew Brees was complaining about the Eagles and their offense the other day, but both of these teams are offensive challenged, and for being two teams that just played in the Super Bowl and are as good as they are two of the most boring offensive teams that I think that you could watch right now.
And that there's something to that, but the Eagles have been like that, and they're strong on defense.
Yeah.
And they put you in a vice almost, and then they find a way to win. They get the yards. Whereas the Chiefs, I think they're just running out of magic. For the last couple of years, they've been making these runs deep in the playoffs, and they've looked good. But I saw that come. But I still think the Chiefs haven't looked as good overall for the last couple of years, and they're just running out of their luck in their big game magic. I don't think
and regardless of what some people will tell you, it's actually they keep winning, one, because of their defense. And yes, Andy Reid's involved, but it helps when you have a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes as well.
Right. But I guess and this isn't what you asked, but if you had to tell me one or the other team would be more surprising, I think it's more surprising that the Ravens are doing as poorly as they are.
I think so as well. You could kind of almost see it because of everything that the Chiefs are up against right now, and because they lack so much. The Ravens have everything. They're just not winning games. They keep Derrick Henry keeps fumbling, and that's kind
weird.
I know.
I mean, he's getting old, but you see the fall off, but he still has been so steady all the time.
He's still grinding out the yards. He just can't hold on to the football.
And it's just wild to watch these two mammoth teams struggling a little bit, but then Buffalo still looks good. So I guess maybe this is finally Buffalo's year.
Okay, real quick, you're a Dolphins fan. They're 0-3. Where are you on Mike McDaniel?
We're only one win behind the Chiefs and Ravens, so I guess
that's true.
No, Mike McDaniel,
and the Cowboys for that matter.
He's blank, should be done. I think that he had some gimmicks at the. If you look at last year, Tyreek Hill only had, I think it was one pass above 30 yards, and it was week 1.
Wow.
The whole season, and this year isn't starting off.
Is that true?
Yeah.
All of last year, only one pass over 30 yards.
And it's just.
But that's a lot of the too deep. And,
yeah.
They're taking
his
it
experiment time is over. He's not producing. Tua's not the quarterback. He's not the coach. They need another rebuild. They need to bring back Jimmy Johnson.
Bring him right out of retirement.
I just don't see how they can. Look at the roster they
just
have
go get
and the
Mike
way they're
Shula.
playing.
Mike Shula's looking for a job, I think.
Well, yeah. Well, they lost to the Patriots, and that hurts because the Patriots aren't exactly loaded.
All right, we got to wrap things up with that. Appreciate everybody being here as always tonight in the chat. We'll be back tomorrow. Bobby, thanks for coming in. I will talk to you tomorrow as well. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com.